Hi there. This machine is a Miele Softronic W430. I was changing the bearings in this machine like it's shown on videos on the YouTube, and thanks for them. When I was changing that, I was actually leaving all the electronics that you have up here. That was laying on the side of the machine. After successful change of the bearings and assembly of the machine, I was starting the machine again, but it would not turn. Everything else worked on the machine, but it would not turn. And that was a bit of a challenge, and that is the reason why I'm doing this video, because you can find a lot of other videos, but maybe I have a little clue here if you have the same kind of fault on the machine. Okay, but starting from the beginning, you take off the lid. You do that by loosening the two screws in here. There are some small plastic things that you need to take off. You can do that with a little razor blade. Just take them out, and you unscrew the two screws here, or loosen them. And then there are 3 screws in the back. When that is all done, you can actually lift that up, and off goes the lid. Okay, after taking off the lid, you take off the front cover. When taking out this part, you need to extract the feather here, and you will actually be able to take it off. Taking the front part off naturally requires that you take out this screw. It's a 10mm, and then you have 2 screws here like these, and then there's one screw up here that you need to remove in order to get down to the screw that must be down here. And here it is mounted. Here there are 2 screws. One goes here, goes over here. The cover in the bottom on the machine, shown here, it's held by 2 screws and has a cover like this. The front cover on this machine just has to be slided to the side. In the bottom of the front cover, it's held here by 2 screws with this little piece of metal. Note that there are 2 different type of screws, like you see here. This part comes off by lowering it down and taking it out. It's held down here by 2 metal springs that keeps it up. So you just have to press that down, take it out, and it's off. Behind this, there are screws that you can actually, there's one here and also one over here. Taking them out, you will be able to take this down if you like to, and you can also take the machine further apart if you want that. To find out why the machine didn't work, you can actually put the machine into a test function, and the test function you can activate by closing the lid. You see, I took the lid off here to be able to see what is going on, so you can actually do something that maybe you should not do, but for testing purposes it's good. Now I simulated that the door is closed, and then you take, for this type of machine, you press down the summer and the intensive button, number 3 and 5, hold them in, and then you turn the current on. And another thing is you need to have the selector here in off position. Then you will have an indication here that you're in the test program. On this machine it was these two buttons. On some machines it is these 2 buttons. However, in this function you can test the machine if it works. Position 1 is water inlet, 1 of 3 I think it is. It's coming there, it's okay. Now put it in position, that's 3, number position 2. There's also water inlet in a different way. Comes here, and then you have position 3. Also water inlet. And then you have position 4. Oh, maybe no, that's some kind of an American function. Then you have position 4. Continue machine. Position 6. Testing the motor. That now works. Position 7. That should be, yeah, that is actually, and you can set up here. You can set if you want, just to check the pump, but you can also actually say, okay, we need to have centrifugation on, and in that way test that the motor works. The positions after that, I'm not sure is used actually, all the way up to this position here. That shows you if everything works in the display, if there's any LEDs that is broken. And in this position, just before the end, you can see here how many hours it actually worked. This machine has worked 17,315 hours. It's a busy wife I've got. As you see now, the cords are not connected, and the type of message I get from the machine, just starting and trying to make it work. Here I chose the program, emptying the machine and centrifuging. It's like this, and this will simulate actually that a cable is gone, and it should actually already move. It doesn't, and you see here it's blinking, so it makes that kind of noise, and you get that in the display. As the machine was not working, I took off this cover with the 2 screws, one up there and one down there, and you can actually take that out. And I took out the coils in here, and I measured everything on that. It all looked very good. You can find a lot of YouTube videos describing how that should work. Then I tested if the cords from here up to the print actually were okay. And if you take the middle one, that's for the control of the motor. I tested actually if there was current to the coils, and that is on this wire and this wire, the 2 wires on the left. But I tested them all, and they go via this all the way up here. It goes in here, and it's connected down here to this print. That print is called Miele 150C, as you see here. The one from the motor that I described is attached here, and by detaching this, you can actually you can just measure that in a simple way, like you all know that, with this instrument. And it was okay. All the connections were perfect. All the other connections down to the motor were perfect. So it all worked, it seemed. And it is that way that the current comes in here and it's spread out here. This is for the heater, for the heating. There's always 220 or 30 volts here, and it's controlled by a magnet here. So it actually activates or non-activates the heating elements. So that's out of the equation. Then there's some cords going here, also gets 220 volts. They go down into the control frame, you can say, and that is where you have your off and on switch, and that somehow directs the current into to here, the print. It goes over here. You can follow the cords. It's very easy. And also gives access for this the whole panel to work. And I had no clue why it didn't work, because everything was alright. Also checked the wires from here to there. So now everything was checked, and also I checked if there was like 230 volts into the print. There was, and it still didn't work. I'm not familiar how a motor like that works. I could not actually find any current on these pins here, or any voltage on these pins when the machine should actually work when I was putting that into program 6. So what did I do? I took out the complete print by removing these, these connections. This is only a shortcut for this section. I took out this for the control panel. I moved out the print by moving these back, and you can actually tilt up the print and take it out, and you can have a look at that. And I examined it for defect circuits. There was nothing wrong at all. So I ended up by, it looked like a little bit of dirt on this one, or corrosion or whatever it was, and I removed that. And I just checked it everywhere for some kind of abnormalities, and I moved a little bit of dirt here and there, and then I put it in again, and now the machine works. So with the working machine, finally my conclusion is, if nothing is really logical about the way it behaves, put it in the program modus, find out if it works or not, what function it is, and then check the wiring. I did that, and then take out the print just to check if there are any abnormalities. And as I said, I only took it out and there were a little bit of corrosion on it. That was it.